Okay, so today, what was the last thing we did yesterday, if you guys remember? Sorry? Yeah, the what concept in coding? Yeah, if else, right? You made a program in if else. So today we're going to learn about functions. Now this is something a little bit more complex. Like if else is a conditional statement, right? You give a condition and then it executes based on that condition. Did we also do for loops? For loops, loop, name in names, like names was a list and then we got to print every element of the list. Try to open Jupyter Notebook. Names was a list. Oh my god, sorry. Can you go call the computer teacher? The other one. The yeah. Is he coming? No. Okay. I'm okay. Till then, I can just teach you like the theory part of it. So names was a list. Remember what a list is? It's just a collection of different numbers or strings or different data types. Then we use the for loop, which is something that a loop is something is a block of code that you can run again and again. So this thing will run again and again. And how many times will it run? That is decided by this condition. So you write, yeah, sorry. This is for. For name in names, and then you write a colon, and then you print the name. So this will print the number of times there are elements, like the number of elements in the list. This is how many times it will print name again and again. So first, because this is name in names, it goes to the first element, which is 1. We print name, we get 1. Then it goes to the second element, which is 2, so we get 2. Then it goes to the third, which is 18, so we get 18, and then we get 22. Okay, so this will basically print this print name will run the number of times there are elements in the array, okay, in the list. So that's what a for loop is. It repeats code again and again. Then we have another loop called while loop. This repeats the code until a certain condition is met. For example, if you have a variable known as try, I'm just writing like a random name, and right now it's false, but uh, you want to run this program until try becomes while try equal to true. So basically, whatever's inside this, like all the block of code here, this will run until try becomes true. So after it runs the code once, it will check if try is true. If it's not true, then it will run it again. Okay, so, and how do you add this condition of like changing try to true? For example, if you want a program that while try equals false, let me just think of a program. If you want a program that you want to run until like a certain condition is met, so you'll first check. Okay, maybe you have a variable called count, and you want to check how many, and you want it to run 5 times. Okay, so it's 0 right now. So I want to get to 4. 0 to 4 is 5, right? So if count is equal to 4, then then my try will become true. Remember, I can change the value of a variable in the middle. So right now it's false, but I can make it true only when count is equal to 4. And that's when the loop will stop running. And obviously we need to give an else condition. So else condition will be count, sorry, equals count plus 1. So here I am increasing the value of count by 1 every time until it reaches 4. And when it reaches 4, try will become true and the loop will automatically stop running. I know it's a lot to take in, but this is how you have to think. Like if you want to code, this is like your thought process should be like this. Like you need to be able to know how to write a program like this. And that's something we will be doing by the end of like in class today. Right. So yeah. So did you have like do you understand this a little bit? How this happened? Or can you explain it to me? What's going on inside the loop? Any one of you? Just explain it, guys. It's just the 4 of you. What are you scared of? Okay. Yeah.
These two are different variables.
Yeah.
It has the value 0.
Yeah.
And it is assigned the value false.
Yeah.
But when we write this command, it
Yeah.
will loop whatever is written inside of it
Yeah.
until try becomes true.
Yeah. And what's the difference between this operator and this operator?
This is used to assign a value.
Yeah.
And this is used to compare.
Yeah. Nice.
So this command will check if count is 4, and if count becomes 4, try will become
True. And this loop will stop.
It will stop.
Yeah.
But if its count is not 4, it will add 1 to the value of count.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect. Okay. So now I know that you guys have understood this a little bit. But this is something you will be using. So in by the end we'll be coding like a small like game, random number game. So this is what you will be using. So understand it properly, okay? And it's going to be like completely you are going to do the coding. I'm not going to do any coding. So just understand this properly. This is very important. So these were the 2 different types of loops. The difference between for loop is for loop runs until like this condition is met. Actually, both of them do the same thing. It also runs until this condition is met. But a for loop, like it's more explicitly defined exactly when it will be over. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be over after 4 tries. We know that. But this, we don't know. Like the value of count could be anything. Maybe it's 2. So now it will run 2 times, right? So this is more like based on the condition, and this is more like more defined that this will run exactly 4 times. Okay, so that was loops. Now we have functions. So a very big, like a very important concept in code is that you have to write code that's easy to understand first of all, and secondly, you should not be wasting a lot of lines. Like it's actually a saying that if you can write code, if someone can write code in 10 lines and you can write it in 5 lines, you're a better coder. Because in coding, we prioritize efficiency. So who can do the same thing with the least amount of code? Because otherwise, like in the normal programs that you use every day, there's like so much code. There's like thousands of lines of code. So if you can write code in like, so even if you do the program right now, there'll be like 10 different ways to do that program. But the shortest way is usually the best. So that's why we have functions. Now functions are a type of it's a property of code that helps us make code smaller. So we can reuse any code again and again. Okay, so you have been introduced to functions, right? We keep on using functions on our data sets, right? Data.drop, data.rename, these are all functions that we've been using. So there are two types of functions. One is inbuilt functions that someone else has already written. You're just using the dot operator and calling the function. Dot drop. For example, my variable name is data. So data dot drop and then in brackets whatever the parameters are. These are inbuilt functions that someone else has already written and you're just using them. But you can also define functions on your own. For example, if I want to, like the name age, like yesterday we made a program where the user had to input their age, and then if the age was greater than 18, it said something. If the age was 18, it said something else. And if the age was less than 18, it said something else, right? So if you want to use that part again and again in your code, maybe you have multiple checks on every page of your program that you want to check if that person is 18 or not. So you can just define it in a function. So the way to define a function is just use the keyword def and the name of your function. For example, this is also like a variable name. A function name is the same. You can keep it like whatever you want, you can use that, but then you have to use the same thing again and again. So for example, if my function is age checker, and it asks for your age. Obviously, it needs the age to function, right? So you can give your age as a parameter. So this is another variable that I'm giving inside it. So I can name it anything, but once I name it age, it has to be consistent, right? So def, name of the function, parameter, then colon, and then obviously there's indentation. When I draw this, I mean to say that there's indentation, you have to leave 4 spaces. So everything that's inside the function will be at a distance of 4 spaces from the start. Okay. So age checker. Now, yeah. So I'll write my code. If age equal to 18, do this. Else, if age is this, do this, else do this. Right, so this is my code. Now, if I want to use it again and again, so this code will not run automatically. We have to call this function. There are two parts to a user-defined function, defining the function and calling the function. Okay, so if you just run this, nothing will happen in your program. So you have to call the function also. For example, this is like my line 100, and this is my line 105. And in between those two, there are some processes happening. And here, like maybe this function is move to the next page. Move next page is a function that we've defined and we're calling it now, and this function basically moves to the next page of the website. Now again, I want to check if the age is 18 or not. So here I'll just call my function, I'll say age checker, and I'll give the age. For example, my age is 18. And if you want a user input, you can have another variable, let's say user age, which is basically an input from the user, right? Enter your age. This is an input from the user, and then you can give this variable as a parameter. Are you understanding? So this variable, user age, becomes a parameter to this function. So whatever the user enters here will be like checked here. So this code will run over here. Okay, and even if this function did not have a parameter, you still have to use empty brackets. When you call that function, you have to use, for example, here. Can you see the similarity? Also, I don't think you guys were here when we did the project, the student performance CSV linear regression. Have you done some of it? So ideally, we would be finishing that project today, but I don't know. Like, we might not be able to if the laptops don't work and we don't have time. So, okay, but a little bit about the game, like, or the, it's kind of a game, but it's not really that complex. So you'll be coding. I'll just call it a game, but it's very simple. So it's a game where the program generates a random number, and then, for example, it generated 8, a random number from like 1 to 10 or 2 to 0, whatever, 2 to 10, whatever you want to do, right? For example, if the program generated 8, then you have to get the user to input a number, and if the number is similar, then you've won. Otherwise, it'll ask the user for input again, and it'll keep asking the user for input until both the numbers are the same. Okay, and then you have to count the number of tries it took to get to this number, and then if like, so whoever gets, out of you, whoever gets the least number of tries, like whoever gets it in the least number of tries wins the game. Okay, so this is something you will be coding. It's actually very simple, and this is just to like give you an idea of how to start thinking in terms of code, right? So yeah, so the two people who just joined, I was just telling them about the game that we're going to be making. It's very simple, but I'll still call it a game. So it's basically a random number generator. So the computer will generate a random number between like 1 to 10 or 2 to 10, whatever you want to do. For example, if the number is 8, then the user has to guess what this number is. So you have to take a user input. If the number is the same, then the user is 1. If the number is not the same, then the user is asked for input again and again until they can guess the number. And then you have to count the number of tries it takes to get to this number. And whoever gets the least number of tries wins the game. Okay, so I know, like, does this sound complex, or do you think you can do it? Like right now, it sounds complex, probably, right? But when you break it down, you'll see that this is just all the concepts that we've applied today, we've learned today and yesterday. That's all it takes to do this, and it'll take like maximum 10 lines of code. Okay, um, yeah. We can try to break down our problem right now. Okay, so our game is, yeah. So what will be the first step, you think? The first step when we're doing this, we're just trying to break down our problem into smaller problems. Random number generation, yeah. So the first step will be random number generation. Then after we've generated the number, what are we going to do? Take input from user. Take input from user. Then, yeah. So see, now you can see that this is just all the things that we've done, right? Check if input equals generated number. Then what will you do? If it doesn't match, okay. If so, you'll use something here. You're also saying it in your sentences. If it doesn't match, try something else. What is that? No, no, no. Like the concept, the concept we did. Is it a function? Is it a loop? Is it a conditional statement? Right? If this doesn't work, if this is true. Okay. So I'm just like side by side. I'll just teach you what flowcharts are, so that you'll be able to visualize this better. So this is a process, random number generation. So all the processes we write in a square. Random number generation. After that, we'll have input from the user. Right, take input. Now all the decisions that you want to make, all the conditional statements, you usually write in a diamond like this. Okay, so if um, input is equal to generated number, if it's yes, what will happen? Sorry, you win. right? So you win. If it's no, try again. Try again. So after that, repeat the thing. So I'll just write input again, right? Input again. And I'll keep writing this until, so so basically I'll get input again, then again I will make a decision, then again I will get input, again I will make a decision. So this is what you're going to do. So will you code it like 10 times? So what will you do? Looping, exactly. So after this, you just go back to your first step, right? Your input generation, then checking again. Instead of doing this, you can just go back to your first step and then do this again and again and again, right? So can you think of, okay, so we have to do this until this happens. So what loop will you use? Yeah, exactly. Why? So see, you're thinking about this on your own. This is what I want you to do, right? So while this condition is met, you will keep running this. So now instead of writing everything again and again and again, you just have to make a while loop, right? So that makes things a lot easier. So this is how the program will work basically. Also, one more important thing, detail I forgot, is that you also have to count the number of tries it takes. We'll come to that later. So usually when we write programs, we write the simplest possible program and then we add more complexity, add more complexity, add more complexity, okay? So let's do this when your laptop starts working. He said there was some issue with the light, so he's going to check, but okay. So any questions you have from this program? Yeah. Okay, I'm coming to that. Random number generations. So for that, we will need to be introduced to one more new concept. It's like the smallest. So in Python, you have a lot of inbuilt libraries, right? You know, like there are functions, these inbuilt functions, they come in these libraries. Libraries are just like pieces of code that other developers have made, and you can use that code without having to know like how exactly it works. For example, random number generation, someone has already built a library with the code that we need to generate a random number so that we don't have to do it again and again and again. So that's why working with Python is so easy, because for like most of the things that you want to do, there are libraries, like pre-existing libraries that exist, and all you have to do is just search. Like a Google search will tell you, oh, like there's this library that you can use to do this, and usually like their names are also like, so for example, the library for random number generation is just called random, right? Because if all the users had to write everything from scratch, it would be very redundant. So that's why we have these libraries that we can use easily without having to know what happens inside. So almost for like for most real life programs that you do, you will need to generate some, like you will need to use some code from libraries. So that's why we have random. So all we have to do is import random. Okay, we will just import random, and then we will use a particular function in random which is called uh, random generator, something like that. Wait, let me look at the function. Yeah, random dot random range. So all you do is you give the range of what the number should be. For example, 1 to 10. So the random number will be generated from 1 to 10. And then, yeah, so all you do is dot random range, dot rand range, and you apply that to, so if you're importing it from the random library, from the random module, the computer needs to know that you're importing this from random. So that's why you also have to write a random dot rand range. Is that clear? Okay, and then you just store this in a variable. How will I store this in a variable? Assignment. This is assignment. Like, okay, hint, like I just have to write something here. Yeah, variable name. Let's just call it re is equal to. That's it. That's all I have to do to store this in a variable. Just re equals to. Okay, so that's how we will start, and this will have the random number generated. Okay, anything else you want to ask? Do you think you can do it? Um, yeah. So whoever went with Sir, do you know where he went? I don't think he's coming back. So do you have a pen and a paper? Can you write the code there? And then we can test it on our laptops. Right. Also, even when you're writing on your notebooks, make sure that you have the indentation right. So you leave like some space before writing everything inside a function or everything inside an if loop or everything inside a for loop. So whenever you write like an if or for loop, you need to have like some space. So everything that comes inside the loop, you have to leave some space before that. Okay. If you can do this, that's a very good start. See, like I introduced you to a program that ओ तो कितनी देर में आ जाएगी क्या चीज़ ओ कुछ ठीक है ठीक है so then you guys can write the code and then we can test it on my laptop okay so just you don't have to add the counting functionality now we'll just improve on it as it goes yeah so inside the loop there's only stuff that you want to repeat again and again for example this input you just have to take once right you just have to ask for the okay wait you have to ask for the input again and again sorry so yeah this will be inside the loop yeah Okay, are you done? Yeah. Import random, rm equals random. So you just want to generate between 0 and 1? Yeah. Try. Also, 0 and 9 are not included when you do. So this will be 1 to 8. Okay, but that's something you want to do, then you can do that. I'm not sure about 0, but 9 for sure is not included. No, 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 you can use this also. That's your wish. That's your wish how difficult you want to make the game. Right? So this will be from 1 to 9. Okay? Try equals 0. Okay, so you've added the try also. While random number input.
Input is equal to
So what is input? Where have you defined input? Okay. Um. Okay, okay, I understand why you've done that. Okay, okay, okay.
उसके
Uh,
बाद वो ट्राई इनपुट
हाँ,
लेने के बाद वो ट्राई के वैल्यू प्लस वन करेगा
ठीक
फिर
है.
चेक करेगा इनपुट और जो रहना है
हाँ,
इक्वल होंगे तो ये क्या स्टेटमेंट कर देगा साथ में ट्राई कितनी ले लेंगे
ठीक है.
और नहीं तो वो ट्राई दिन प्रिंट करेगा
हाँ,
ट्राई प्रिंट
और इनपुट दोबारा लेगा. ठीक है. Do you want to run it? So actually, there's like a small mistake, but I want you to solve it on your own. Okay. So rename. Yeah. So I'll just write your name. Okay. So wait, you have to do your own program. Okay. Yeah. So this actually has like a small bug, but you will get to know when you do it. Wait. Import. Delete. Okay, guys, you all have to do your own code. Okay. When like things change color, it's usually a good sign. Also, you'll notice that this isn't Jupyter Notebook. This is like, so for programs like these, when we want to run everything together, we usually use a Python file, not a Python notebook. Okay. See, it's also telling you what are the parameters, the starting and the ending. So that's also useful. Or do you mind if I can record this? Only your screen.